So how to buy apartments, how to buy apartments in the next 90 days and how to do it with as little out-of-pocket capital as you can, right? I mean, that's the end of the day, because you think about it for a minute. If you go buy a single family home and or a single family rental property or whatever it may be, that's not really an investable deal in terms of being able to bring in other people and invest alongside you. There's just not enough zeros in it, not enough pie in that game to be able to do that. So that way you typically have to come in with all the down payment yourself. So if you go buy $500,000 rental property, because it's a rental property, you're not going to get that 3% down payment, the FHA type loans. So you're putting 20-25% down. That's at least $100,000 to $125,000 on a deal like that. Well, now all your money is stuck in that one single family deal. And even if it's a rental, think about it. If that tenant leaves, you go from 100% occupied to 0% overnight. And therefore now you're stressed because you still have a mortgage to pay, expenses to pay. And now that property's sitting there until you get it re-rented again with a new tenant. So that's why single family, while, fine, it's not the best mechanism if you want to leverage your capital, leverage your money, and scale yourself as far as you can with limited out-of-pocket capital. So I'm going to literally show you how you can buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days and do it with $20,000 out of pocket. So just full disclaimer, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. So, you're not going to automatically become a millionaire by getting one apartment building, but you're definitely going to be setting the stage for you and your family and your future self. In 2008, just so you kind of understand a little bit of my background if you don't know, in 2008, when I got started, I was just trying to help my dad because he was going through the financial crisis and he's getting hammered, had a massive bankruptcy for our family. But, I did know that I wanted to be a millionaire. That is something I did know. And I knew that if I could kind of reverse engineer it back into it, $1 million is $2,379 a day. $2,379 a day. So how could I do that? Today, just so everybody knows, I own nearly 1,000 apartments and about $180+ million in assets. But it didn't start that way. As I was saying, going back to the financial crisis and in that time frame, I watched my dad go through a massive bankruptcy. I kind of came up through real estate a little bit. He was a developer builder guy. He was always building things and selling things, building things and selling things. And so that was really good when markets were great, but you also get caught in cycles. And then if you get caught in a bad one, which the financial crisis was, you stay over leveraged and you can lose everything. And unfortunately, he'd been through 4 different cycles and then made it through all of them, except for the financial crisis of 2008. And he got clobbered, right? He was over leveraged at the time, and it was a massive bankruptcy for us and our family. And it was devastating to have to go through that and see that. But you also learn a bunch of stuff too. And what I learned through that was that, in moments of suffering, greatness is born. Right? In moments of suffering, greatness is born. And you can look at things and you can see the tragedy only and have a negative attitude, which definitely do. Or you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off and say, okay, how am I going to do things differently moving forward? I saw what happened to my dad. I'm going to try and not repeat that same process. Okay. So it all started for us and for our company, for me, in 2010. And I knew we had to buy property, in the midst of the financial crisis. Granted, you're sitting there with blood in the street, but I knew we had to buy. And I didn't have any money at the time. So this goes to everybody here tonight that maybe you don't have very little money at all, which I didn't. I think I had like $11,000 in my bank account at that time. So it wasn't a lot of money, but I knew we had to buy property. But what I did have was the ability, I call it the sweat equity, right? You bring sweat equity or check equity. And I want you to remember those terms tonight: sweat equity or check equity. Sweat equity is the ability to execute, find deals, analyze them, put them together, run them, manage them. It's very, very, very powerful and very, very valuable to someone with money. So I didn't have the money, but I had the sweat. So I went to a buddy of mine and I said, listen, man, we need to buy property. All right, this is the time. I don't have the money. You have some, you're not getting hammered. If you can provide the down payment and sign on our first loan, I'll go get our first deals and I'll start the company and let's rock and roll. And that was it. 2010, $100,000 condo. We got a $75,000 loan, but $10,000 down. We were like, I think literally $570 a month free cash flow after everything, which is good on a condo. And that ended up being our percentage return was like 27% a year, cash on cash. It was a good deal, but that was at that time, right? It was at that time. But that's what you learn. But that's how it started. It always starts with one, right? It starts with one. And then from there, you got through the 2008 financial crisis, and then that time frame, 2008 to 2010, I was an asset manager. So after helping my dad consolidate his businesses, now I went on to kind of work in the bank industry because that was where the money was at that time. All the meanwhile, we're starting to buy property, and I'm an asset manager for the banks. Literally the guy behind the computer screens, hiring all the realtors out there in the world, managing hundreds of assets that were foreclosures around the country at any given time. It was a complete utter shit show. Anybody that remembers that time, you all know it, right? The amount of cash for keys, evictions, foreclosures. I mean, just what was going on was absolute chaos. And I was one of the guys behind the screens managing a lot of that stuff and the chaos going on. But then I became a real estate broker in 2010, got my real estate broker's license, which I had. We started buying properties, as I said. And that's when I began to kind of see the light of, okay, like we're going to do it. But most of it was with our own money at that time, right? I still didn't understand the game of OPM, other people's money. And people, you hear that term and people throw it out. But what that means to me, and I'm curious what it means to all of you, but OPM, all that means is that you're syndicating, right? There's that sexy term that you hear. You're collaborating money. It's your money, some of your money, with other people's money who want to invest alongside you in that deal. And then you all go make money together. That's what OPM is. That's what syndicating is. So when you hear those terms, other people's money and syndicating, all that is collaborating money together to go buy real estate. That's all it is. Okay, so they put sexy terms to them, but that's all it is. Okay, but that was kind of my pathway. That's my pathway.
Family home in North Pacific Beach, a fantastic fashion. Let's do that again.
And here's my bloopers for my realtor days.
The thing in check or in, okay. Hi, this is Justin Brennan with no HOAs. You're in between Pacific Beach and La Jolla. It's a good family home. Good location, great neighborhood, and that's pretty much it. Hit the message me button below, and I'll get it right back to you.
Any other final things you want to throw on there?
I'm sweating like a dog right now.
Unbelievable. You know, I wasn't even sure whether I should put that blooper because that was like 2013, mind you, during my realtor days. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but I thought it'd be funny because I was laughing when I kind of came across that some time ago and wanted to put it in. So I hope you got a chuckle out of it. But that kind of goes to show you, man, like where things may have been and then where things can go. And so you kind of need to ask yourself, you know, where are you at, right? And no matter where it's been, maybe it's been good, maybe it's been bad. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, right? The past is irrelevant, right? What you need to care about is where you're at now and where you want to go. And I kind of chuckle at those days of being a realtor and I was selling houses. I was making good money, but it wasn't like my dream, right? It wasn't my dream. And it didn't get me up every day and like get me excited. You know, it was great helping people. I love the marketing aspect of it, but it wasn't like getting my belly excited every day to like go out and make things happen and have a real drive behind what I was doing. And so I knew that I wanted to own apartments. I knew that I wanted to be an investor. I knew that I wanted to get out there and do this game of investing. I just didn't know kind of where to start, but we started with one, like literally started with one. And that was it. One condo, $100,000. And then years later, here you go to 2018, we got to 20 units, right? We were doing duplexes and quads and all that stuff. We got to about $3.5 million in assets. And listen, that was good, right? And for most people, that would be sweet, right? For us, it wasn't. We wanted more, and we were doing most of it with our own money. We just knew we had to scale and grow. I just didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to do that. And this is kind of where the game of OPM comes into play and other people's money and learning how to do this game, leverage money, play the game of money, play the game of syndicating to leverage $30,000, $40,000 of yours to go scale it to much, much more. And that's kind of what I'm sharing tonight so you can kind of see it. I'm going to break it down here in just a moment. But that's kind of my little journey to get to where we got it, which was 20 units. But then you look at that from 2018 to kind of show you how this scaling game works. So from 2010 to 2018, we went from 1 to 20 units and $3.5 million in assets and had 100% ownership of it. That's good, but we wanted more. So from 2018, once I began to learn the game of OPM and syndicating this apartment game, we go from 20 units to just under 1,000 units today and $180+ million of assets. And we have 40% ownership of 180 million. So you can do the math. 100% of 3.5 or 40% of 180. And you do that through this game I'm going to talk about tonight. Okay. Quick question came in from Brian. Found a FSBO, which is a for sale by owner, by the way. 16 unit, 12 room, small apartment complex. Just don't know how to structure or really analyze the deals. So just so you understand, Brian, and we'll get into that here briefly, is there's only two ways you want to find deals in apartments. So FSBO, that's a residential real estate game, right? Because you're for sale by owner, going directly to the seller, which is great, but that's a single family game. Everything is FSBO in commercial, okay? Direct to seller or direct to broker, direct to seller or direct to broker. Anything you see on the websites, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, it's all overpriced, right? Anything you see on Crexy or LoopNet or CoStar or any of these websites, it's all overpriced. That's why it's on that website, because you'll understand the pathway that a property goes through in commercial real estate, multifamily, to get to market. And by the time it hits the websites, it's not a great deal. 99.999% of the time. Okay, and we're going to get into that here briefly. But just to understand that pathway and what you can do. So to go from 1 to 1,000, and now our goal is to get to 10,000 units and $1 billion in real estate. That's where we're headed. Yeah, so in order to get there, it takes mindset, okay? It takes mindset. It takes mindset. Because you have to throw away some of these false belief patterns, limiting belief patterns that stop most of us. How can you buy an apartment building, 10 to 30 unit in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket? Well, you got to get through these three, I'd say the top 3 false belief patterns. Number 1, we have to get rid of the false belief, and I'm going to show you how to do that you need a lot of money to get started. A lot of people think you do, specifically in multifamily because of the capital side. You're thinking, oh, it's a $2 million, $2 million, $3 million building. That's going to take a lot of money. I don't have it. So then you stop right there because you don't realize how this game of money works. So we're going to blow through that one tonight. Number 2 is multifamily is too complex and there's experts only. Does anybody share that one? It's too complex and only experts only. You have to be an expert in the game to do it. And I'm not an expert, therefore I can't. So I stop right there. And then the last one is the deals are hard to find, right? Finding deals. That was the number 1 roadblock up there behind the financing and capital. Finding deals. They're hard to find and the market is oversaturated. The market's oversaturated. Okay, so these are the top 3 false beliefs that we're going to try and blow through here tonight and get you comfortable believing that those are not the case. So let's start with number 1. Okay, let's start with number 1. The belief number 1, that you need a lot of money to get started. Okay, let's go ahead and just break down a deal. I'm going to show you exactly how this would work. And let's say this was a 15 unit apartment deal for $1.5 million. So it's $100,000 per unit, $1.5 million deal. 15 unit deal, $100,000 a unit, $1.5 million deal. Let's say you're going to renovate that property. You're going to put in $100,000 and you're going to renovate that property to improve it, the look of it, units and everything. And let's say you have some closing costs as well, 50 grand in closing costs to close the deal. So your all-in cost is $1,650,000. Total cost in the deal. So this is how this thing breaks down. This is how you get the deal done. You're going to go out and get a loan for about $1,150,000. Now, if anybody thinks that it's difficult to get that loan, then you don't understand commercial loans. You're not getting a residential loan. If you were getting a residential loan, that loan would be very, very hard. They would dissect you 14 ways to the sun, right? Because they're looking at you personally and your personal financials in order to substantiate the payment on that loan. Not with multifamily. They're looking at the building as though it's its own operating business. It has a revenue, it has expenses, and it has a profit. That profit will pay the bank every single month. Your tenants will pay the bank every single month. If any of you in here are currently renting in an apartment complex, you are paying that landlord's debt payment every single month, right? The loan they have on that property, it's calculated just this way. They got that loan super easy because they could use the money you're paying them to go pay the bank. And that's how the deal gets done. And so qualifying for that loan is 10 times easier than qualifying for a residential home loan for $200,000 because they're looking at the property's financials. Okay, so that's a really, really key point to kind of get out of this belief system of you need too much money, right? That's step number one, is you can take down the loan. You can take down the loan. So number two, now you're left over. So if I go get $1.1 million loan, now I have $500,000 I have to bring in as my down payment. Now, most people look at that and they're like, shit, I don't have 500 grand. And my response to you is, I know you don't. I didn't either. Most people don't, right? That's not the problem. The problem is, how do you make it happen, right? So stop saying I can't and start saying, how can I? Because this is how syndicating, this is how OPM works. You, as the general partner putting the deal together, think about it. You found it, you're putting it together, you have a lot of skill sets and knowledge to be able to do this. You're going to bring in only about 10% of the money. You're going to bring in 50 grand. 10% of the money. That is your responsibility into the pool. OPM, other people's money, that's coming in 495 grand. They're going to bring in a vast majority of it. So just keep this in mind. For that 50 grand that you're bringing in, that 10%, you're going to get about 40% of the deal. For bringing in 495,000, that's 90% of the money. They're passive investors. They're not running the day-to-day operations and the show on this thing. They're completely passive. So for 90% of the money bringing it in, they're just planning on collecting checks. They're going to get about 70%, 60 to 70% of the deal. So following through, what's the coolest part about this now, everybody, is that, okay, you're bringing in 50K, but you're the general partner on this deal. Okay, so for being the general partner, you get paid multiple ways. So one of them is an acquisition fee. Okay, one of them is an acquisition fee. So for bringing in 10% of the money, right, you're going to get 40% of the deal, plus you're going to get an acquisition fee when you close escrow for about $30,000. So keep this in mind for a minute. You brought in 50 physical cash in the deal. The day you close escrow, you're getting $30,000 back out as an acquisition fee for putting the thing together for you and the investors and OPM, all that stuff, okay? So how much money are you actually out of pocket? How much money are you actually out of pocket? $20,000. $20,000. So for $20,000 out of pocket, you now have control, okay? Control of a 15-unit apartment deal. Let's call it in the Midwest, $100,000 a unit, and you have full control. Multi-million-dollar property for $20,000 out of pocket. And this happens every single day, guys. This is the game of money. When you understand how to leverage OPM and play this game and have the skill sets to do it, right, it's extremely valuable. So the key is the sweat equity. Because if you don't have the check equity I talked about, you bring the sweat equity, the ability to actually do this and run it. Key component. And you don't have to be an expert to do it. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So can we all agree that you don't need a lot of money to actually do this? You just need to know how to do it, right? You just need to know how to do it, because that's a key component. So taking that belief system, I need a lot of money to get it done. You really don't, because if you found a 20 unit that made financial sense, I ask all of you here this, if you found a 20 unit deal that made financial sense in the next 90 days, could you get access to $20,000 to $50,000 to invest and control that deal? Yes, you can. Because you know what the true value is, right? You know that for such little out-of-pocket money from you, you're going to get such a big gain. You'll make it happen, won't you? You'll make it happen because it can happen and it should happen. So that's a key component. So you're going to be coming in with 20 grand to 50 grand. You're going to get 40% of the deal. You're going to get an acquisition fee of 30 grand, and you get paid 5 to 8 different ways. And I'm going to show you that here in just a bit. One of them is that acquisition fee from day one. That's way one. And that's one of your biggest ones going in the door for putting it together. It's a key thing. So this whole belief that you need a lot of money to get started, just not true. It's just not true. And I just showed you that. Yeah, I just showed you that. So let's move on. Okay. Belief number 2. And this one gets a lot of people. They think they need to be an expert, right? That multifamily is too complex and you have to be an expert. It's for experts only, right? I would say this. For all these people, they're not experts. They're not experts. They're people just like you. They wanted it. They saw it. They understood it. It took them a little bit of time. They learned it. They learned the sweat equity side. Some had some capital. Some had some knowledge. They put it together, but they were not experts. These are people that have normal jobs, different careers. They wanted to get into multifamily. They just didn't know how to start. Very similar, but they went out and they made it happen. They went out and they made it happen. And so I say to you, You don't have to be an expert. You know, there is nuance to it. You do need to have the knowledge. You need to learn it, but you don't have to be an expert because anybody can do this. Okay. Anybody can do this. I didn't know how to do this when I got started. I had a little bit of background in real estate, but not like this. Okay. Not like this. Not like this. So the process, I would say, the process, it seems intimidating at first, but it's really about a step-by-step plan. It's having a process in place and a blueprint, and knowing that every intricate thing you may not be able to know, every detail you don't need to understand in finance and law. You do need something, right? You need something that's going to break every step down into actionable, understandable parts, empowering you to navigate the market, right? Do it confidently, even if you're starting from scratch. Would you agree with that statement? That the process, it may seem intimidating at first, but it's really about following a step-by-step blueprint rather than knowing every intricate detail in finance and law. You need something that breaks everything down, right? In a very simple, actionable steps in layman's terms that's understandable, that empowers you to navigate the market confidently, even if you're starting from scratch. Even if you're starting from scratch. And so I would say this, I find this interesting because I'm going to give you an example of ACUS. English second language. Came into the community, learned this stuff in the medical field. She figured it out, not an expert, and she's executing. Listen to this.
So as soon as I listened to the crash course, I got hooked. It was so funny because that one is a small course. Yeah. However, I think I shared with you before that one of the parts that I enjoy the most is that you simplify language for many of us, and English is my second language. So I really enjoy the way that you were teaching and
You're saying and being able to kind of explain the complex details and nuance in a layman's terms, simple format where it actually resonates. Is that what I'm gathering?
Correct, because there is a lot of terminology out there for real estate that seems very intimidating, especially for those who are new to the real estate investment business. And you made it so easy and simplify it in a way that for me resonates. It reminded me a little bit of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. It's like that.
I will take that compliment. Very good.
And that's ACUS, man. She's awesome, but I thought she'd be a great example for anybody on here that, you know, maybe you're an immigrant and you come in from other countries and whatever it is, and you're trying to make the American dream happen too. Similar to her, and she got in the medical field, didn't really have this background, but came in, dug in, made things happen, right? And then you take Steve. I love this one. Steve, he's a contractor in the upper Midwest. First deal he closed, 39 units, right? It's not too complex for a contractor.
Super stoked for you. Everybody give Steve a clap. So 39 units, that was the Cleveland deal we were talking about. How many stories is that thing?
It's 4 stories, a little over 40,000 square feet with 4,000 square feet of commercial space.
Right.
It's very challenging project.
Is that the one you're getting the tax advantages on and all that stuff too?
Your tax, 100% tax abate.
He's a contractor guy, right? I mean, didn't really have real estate experience per se, been in the contracting business, but he came in, understood it, got it, dove into the weeds, made it happen. First deal, Cleveland, Ohio, 39 units, right? Not an expert, okay? This is one of my favorite ones because it's recent, super recent with Brian. Has a dog walking company, okay, of all things, okay? Dog walking company of all things. And 22 unit deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's not too complex for a dog walker. I love it. Like nothing makes me happier than to see posts on Instagram with people and they tag you in it, sharing these successes, man. It's like such a fulfilling part of the process, because the entire purpose of even why we created this community, you know, a few years back, was because people were coming closer and seeing what I was doing and saying, hey, like, can you teach this stuff? At first I'd said, I don't know. I don't know if I have the time. We put some kind of courses up online that people could take at their own pace, and they loved them because it broke everything out in such a simple way and explained it in layman's terms, like you saw Akis explain. And then they really wanted more of kind of hand-holding in a community fashion where they could collaborate and partner with other people similar to them and grow together, right? Accountability is number one, collaboration and partnerships number two, but being a part of something on a collective that's much bigger. And that's why Multifamily School was even founded, was that premise behind it. Does anybody know who Ken McElroy is? So Ken, he's not some genius. Right? He bought his first investment property in 1990 while he was a freshman in college. He had no previous real estate experience. None. Okay? None. But he figured it out. Today, $3 billion, 9,000 units in 5 states. He's regarded as one of the top apartment gurus in the industry. He's incredible, right? Incredible on how he does that. Incredible on how he does it. But it's understanding how this game works and understanding that you don't have to be an expert, right? You don't. Does anybody know any of these faces? Does anybody know any of these faces? These were not experts either when they got started. They were not experts either when they got started. Brandon Turner, if you know of him from Bigger Pockets, he now runs his own community and stuff, owns 10,000 mobile homes throughout the United States. Ryan Pineda, you got Robert Martinez, apartment rockstar, 4,000 plus units. Carlos Reyes down there, obviously, everybody calls him Uncle G, Mr. Grant Cardone. Like him or hate him, don't know, but 10,000 plus units. I think he's 12,000 now, billions of dollars in real estate. But it's understanding that none of these people were experts either when they got started. They just understood the game of money and leverage, right? And they had to learn it. They brought in the sweat equity along with other people's money and made it happen. Okay? Made it happen. It's a key thing, is not asking yourself, oh, can it happen? It's saying, how can it happen? How can I make it happen? So that belief pattern number 2, that multifamily is too complex and it's for experts only. No, it's not. No, it's not. We've gotten rid of number 1, that you need a lot of money. We've gotten rid of number 2, that you have to be some expert and it's super complex and you have to do all that stuff before you can even get started. No, you don't. Many other people that are in it started exactly prior where you're at tonight. And they just made a decision for themselves. I'm going to freaking go for it. I'm going to get to the edge of the cliff. This is what I want this year in 2025. Here we are in early March. Let's rock and roll, baby. Right? We're going to be end of Q1. You're going to be end of Q1 coming up here in 30 days. Right? And then you got 3 left. So when is the time? If it's not now, when? You have to ask yourself that. If it's not now, when? You got to think about it for yourself, what you're going to do. You bring the sweat equity, as I've said, or the check equity, right? I told you, it's sweat equity or check equity. You decide. If you don't have a lot of capital, that's okay. Neither did I. I started with borderline $11,000 in my bank account. I didn't put no money in the first deal. The only way that happened is I went and I found somebody, a partner that I actually partnered on our company. He brought in the first capital. I found the deals. I brought in the sweat. He brought in the check, right? Sweat and check. That's how we got it done. So let's talk about false belief pattern number 3. The deals are hard to find and the market is oversaturated. The deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. Who here shares in that belief pattern? I'm curious. Who here is just trying this little thumbs up chat that, hey, this is something that I believe in. I think deals are hard to find. I don't know where to look. I don't know where to start. And that's like the number 1 thing, right? You have to find good deals. You got to find good deals. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Belief pattern number 1. And so you have to understand that it comes in 2 forms. You have direct to broker, and then you have direct to owner, direct to seller. Direct to broker, direct to owner. Those are the only 2 ways you're finding deals. There are only 2 ways to find deals that make sense. It's direct to broker or direct to owner. Okay? That's it. That's it. So deals are hard to find and its market's oversaturated. It is if you do it alone. Deals are hard to find if you do it alone and you don't do it in collaboration and partnerships. Then they are hard. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So let me ask you this. What if you found a community of other investors doing deals around the US where you could learn insider techniques to equip you with the skills to uncover off-market gems by using brokers' market listings that are on market, where you could see the details, right, that others miss, proving that the market is ripe for potential, and prepare yourself as an investor, and you don't have to do it alone. Because that's how you do it. To go direct to broker, you don't use the websites. As I said earlier when we first started this thing tonight, I said the websites are where deals are overpriced. So if that's where you're looking, no wonder they're hard to find, because all you're doing is playing in a pool of limited inventory that's all overpriced. So none of the deals make sense, and there's so little of it because you're not getting access to the actual inventory. Okay. More than 60% of all the properties that sell in this space are sold pre-market or off-market. Would you agree with that? I know you know this. It's just a question of how you get access to them. But that's where the deals are found. You just need a process to get that and execute that. And that's where a community of other investors and stuff around the country make that happen. Learning that process of how you go on market to off market is critically important. Now, number two, how do you go direct to owner and do it a correct way that's efficient, a use of your time, when most of you on here probably have a job and a career that's paying your bills. So you can't spend 24 hours a day looking for deals. You have to be efficient, have leads coming through your inbox that makes sense to where now you can just analyze them, put them together financially, and go execute and get into your first, second, third, fourth deals. So what if you had a software, okay? What if you had a software that allowed you to look at 150 plus million properties around the United States that are all pre-market and off-market, and allow you with AI technology to get access to, obviously, skip tracing all the owner data and all that stuff. That's fine. So now you can go direct and contact them, but also allow you to analyze those deals quickly. And more importantly, showcase the details about them that make them unique. So now, on top of that, you get a property that makes sense. And now with AI technology, you can find other similar properties. So if that one doesn't work, others will. So now it's expanding your pool of leads and opportunities. And these are all off market. These are not on websites. You're never going to see them. These are direct to owner type leads. And then you have the direct to broker type leads, because this is the only way you're getting deals that are going to make sense. This is how you open up the pie and the pool to get access to the deals that you can actually underwrite, and you have a treasure trove coming through your inbox. It's not on the websites. The only reason you're ever going to use the websites is to use those on-market listings to get access to the broker's pre-market, off-market deals. It's the only way you're doing it, because every single one of those deals needs to be probably discounted 20, 30%, probably, based on where they're asking today. Very rarely do they actually make sense when you type them up and you put them in an analyzer. Very rarely, because they're on market. That's the reason they're there, is because they didn't sell pre-market and off-market. That belief pattern that deals are hard to find and markets oversaturated, they are. You're right on that if you do it alone. Then the deals are hard. If you do it alone and you don't have resources and tools and you're trying to just go it on your own, you're right. They are hard. They are hard. You're right. Okay, they are hard. But if you do it in collaboration, you do it together, then that belief pattern goes bye-bye, and the false belief pattern, you can exit that, and you do it alone. You do it, or you do it together, and you don't do it alone. Like, that's how you're going to get there. So if plenty of people try and do it on your own. You can go watch all the YouTube you want, not a problem. And some people will make it happen. Most people won't, because it takes collaboration, partnerships, accountability, systems, all these things that you need to be in collaboration with other people doing it just like you to keep you motivated. Because this is what happens with a lot of things. Let's say you were just taking a course for simple math, or going on YouTube or whatever it is following this process, and you learn it. So you have knowledge. The knowledge is not what gets you there. It's what you do with it that gets you there, right? That's what moves the needle for people. Having the knowledge is great, right? That's key, but that's not king. King is what you do, the action takers. But in order to take action, typically most people will start, they'll get going, and the minute they hit resistance, right? Because they don't have that accountability and that structure there to hold them there, to push them through, to hold their hand, they quit. They quit because that resistance, right? They're like, all right, let's go do something else. It must be too hard, right? All those false beliefs set in. I need too much money, it's too complex, experts only, deals are too hard to find, all that stuff I just got rid of sets in. And then you stop yourself. And usually the success you want, it's just on the other side of it. It's just on the other side of that point you're trying to stop yourself, right? People give up right there, man. It's right there, and they give up a little bit too soon. And so I ask you, I think that's key. So single family versus multifamily, right? The differences between them. Single family is fine, but it does not have the benefits that come with multifamily, right? Single family, you get some monthly cash flow, you get profits from a sale or a refinance, totally great. And then with multifamily, you're getting paid 5 to 8 different ways. The acquisition fee we talked about in the beginning. Then you get an asset management fee, typically 1 to 2% of the revenue of the building on top of a property management fee. Then you get all the tax benefits, the massive tax benefits from writing things off. You get a fee when you sell it, a disposition fee when you sell it sometimes. That's another way. You get finder's fee. If you're a great deal finder, I swear to, I want to say we have at least 6 or 7 great deal finders in the community. And they just literally make money off finding deals, bringing them in, and having the community buy them. I shit you not. If you're a great deal finder, you're getting paid 1 to 2% of the purchase price for finding great deals. But great deals are not on market. I had somebody bring me a deal the other day. They're like, yeah, I got this great deal. And they're like, I'm like, okay. And then they send me the link. I'm like, dude, it's on Crexy.com. It's on the market. I said, this is not a great deal. I said, I appreciate your efforts, but it's not a great deal. They're like, yeah, but I negotiated it down. I said, yeah, but anybody can negotiate it down. They're going to figure it out anyways. So I said, you're not bringing value at that. Now, go use our resources to go direct to broker, learn that process, or use the software to go direct to owner, use that resource to now bring great deals to the table. Boom, extremely valuable. Because now you are finding things and taking that off the plate of a lot of people that want to execute. So extremely valuable. Construction management fees. If you're renovating a building and you want to do renovation, you can get paid construction management fees as part of this process. So many different ways you're getting paid. Lots of ways to make money throughout the entire process, not just cash flows and appreciation. You're making money from day 1 to day 100, all the way through, okay? Really, really key. Really, really key. So I'm going to show you a case study right now of a 31 unit deal that I did. And for $19,000 out of pocket, I controlled this deal and made just under $600,000 off of $19,000. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Question was, will we be analyzing a sample property tonight? Yes, we've been doing that already, but we're gonna not. I mean, I'm not going to get into a deal analyzer and get granular because that would take us probably an hour or 2 hours. We wouldn't have the time. But I'm going to show you a deal right now, a case study, and exactly how it broke down. Okay, so this is what this is right now. Great question. So $19,000 out of pocket. This is how we set it up. $1,525,000, because my promise to you is I'm going to show you, which we already did, how to buy an apartment deal, 10 to 30 unit, which we just did, for $20,000 out of pocket. That was my promise to you. We've already shown it. I'm going to show it again right here. So for $1,525,000, we did $400,000 in renovation. We had closing costs of about $225,000. So our all-in cost on this deal was about $2.15 million. That was our all-in cost. So how did we actually structure this deal and put it together? The loan we went and got a loan for $1.5 million, about a 70% loan. Then we brought in about $645,000 in down payment. That was the equity into the deal. Now, I was responsible for 10% of that, just like I showed you on the last deal. So about 64 grand was brought in. 90%, about 581,000 was brought in from OPM. That we actually brought it in with other investors. It was about 7 people brought in that 581,000. Okay. Now remember, acquisition fee. So I got paid an acquisition fee of 45 grand the day we closed escrow. 64,000 in, 45 came out. I was out of pocket $19,000 and had control of a 31 unit apartment building in the Midwest. Just like that. By understanding the leverage game of OPM. Now, what did I get for that? So now 31 unit deal. Now we took that deal, okay, and we raised the value of it from $1,525,000 by renovating it up to $3.6 million. So 24 months later, the value is sitting here at $3.6 million. We took out a 70% loan on that. So we pulled out $2.5 million. We paid off the previous loan we had on it. we paid back our $645,000 to all the investors, including myself, and then we pocketed another $355,000 tax-free. Because remember, debt is tax-free. It's tax-free money when you take out debt. I got an assignment fee of 1% per month for managing the revenues in the property and the asset management side. I was getting 40% of the profits and the cash flow on the deal. So for $2,000 a month over 5 years, that's 120 grand. Then I got net profits from the sale on the deal. So for me, it was $590,000 on $19,000 out of pocket. That is what I made on that deal over a 5-year window. That's a 32x on the money. I told you that my promise to you was how to buy an apartment, 10 to 30 unit in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. I've given you 2 instances of exactly how to do it. And then on top of that, okay, so we solved that problem. On top of that, I wanted to get rid of some false beliefs that a lot of people have. Number one was, I need a lot of money to get started. No, you don't. We showed you how that's not the case. You just need the grit and the know-how. You need the sweat equity to get started. So let's get rid of that false belief. Now, number 2, multifamily is too complex and it's for experts only. I mean, I could just keep going on the list of people that have executed that were not experts. We showed you Steve, we showed you Brian, we showed you many more as Akis. I mean, the list keeps going. We've showed you people at different industries, different backgrounds. Some had real estate experience, many did not. And so expert don't need to be. Once again, you need to have the sweat equity and the knowledge and the skill set to go execute, and a belief pattern and a mindset that says, how can I? Not can I, how can I? And you got to fight through the resistance of quitting. That's the name of the game, which is why having collaborations and partnerships and community and accountability and all these things is sometimes far more important than just knowing what to do. Because you can go on YouTube tonight and sit there and binge watch for the next 10 hours of your life and learn this, what I'm teaching you. But then by the end of that 10 hours, you're still not going to know how to execute. Because you're not going to do it. Why? Because you don't have the accountability and the mindset in place to actually go do it. Most people won't. Some will, but most people won't. So then the last belief pattern, the false belief that deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. Only if you do it alone. Only if you don't have systems. Only if you don't have the tools. That's when it's hard. But we showed you that's just not the case. Because this is really what it's all about, right? It's a twofold thing. Number 1, we talked about the community. Number 2, we talked about having access to tools and systems like a software that could help you locate off-market and pre-market deals, right? And then having a community that helps you get direct to broker approaches and have the collaboration for partnerships, financing, collaboration, raising money, capital, all the above. Because if you have those 2 combined, it's a very, very, very powerful system and tool. Very, very powerful. Where does the OPM come from? Lester, comes from multiple sources. Great question. It comes from seller financing, can come from friends and family investors, can come from the community, can come from private lenders, can come, heck, we help fund some of the deals through our fund for people that are doing deals and stuff. All the above. OPM is other people's money, baby. All the above. All the above. Multiple sources. Multiple sources.